Dear Kazoo, there's no money. There is, however, a magical little girl, your sister.
Today's vocabulary word is neurotypical. It is an expression used in the autism community to refer to persons that are not on the autism spectrum. Also, spoilers ahead for the 2021 film Music. So let's get something clear out front. I really do love Sia's music, by which I mean her actual music, not her movie of the same name. I discovered her ages ago when she covered Radiohead's Paranoid Android, and I've been a fan ever since. This Is Acting and Some People Have Real Problems are my personal favorites of her albums. As such, I was initially intrigued to learn that she was releasing her first feature film. Historically, there have been some stunning cinematic achievements to come out of the confluence between musicians and filmmakers, everything from Hard Day's Night to Purple Rain to Through the Never. And given that Sia's work has always translated well to the music video format, I was particularly keen to see what vision she would bring to her debut directorial effort. Sadly, as many others have noted, Music falls well short of those cinematic landmarks. For the uninitiated, here's a recap. Music tells the story of a young woman named Music who suffers from some degree of low-functioning autism and is placed in the care of her ne'er-do-well half-sister following the death of their grandmother. Critics and audiences panned the film as shallow misery porn meant solely to woo the Oscar voters, while autism advocates condemned the portrayal of prone restraint as a means of comforting an autistic person during an emotional meltdown. Prone restraint is the practice of having a caregiver lay on top of a panicking autistic person until they stop struggling. This is a highly controversial practice in the world of autism patient care and is known to be physically dangerous and potentially deadly. In the film, it's described as crushing with love. If that's an act of love, then Derek Chauvin must be a professional massage therapist. And don't even get me started on Sia's masturbatory ego-stroking cameo. Anyway, I agree with the majority of the film's criticisms, although there are a couple of specific points where I give the benefit of the doubt. First of all, I really did like the musical dance sequences in and of themselves. Throughout the film, Music's thought process is articulated through a series of colorful music video-style sequences that are both technically impressive for their use of large-scale ensemble dance choreography as well as their Seussian visual aesthetics. But one area where I really disagree with the criticism of Music is from autism advocates who have criticized the casting of Maddie Ziegler to play the titular character when she herself is not autistic. Well, let me disclose here that I am myself autistic, and I have absolutely no problem with this. It's called acting for a reason. Tom Hanks did not need to be developmentally disabled to play Forrest Gump. Joaquin Phoenix did not need to have pseudo-bulbar affect to play the Joker. Bradley Cooper did not need to have bipolar mania to play Pat Solitano in Silver Linings Playbook. From watching videos by other autistic vloggers, I've come to understand that the autism community's objection to the casting of a non-autistic actor comes from the belief that an autistic person would be more intimately familiar with the reality of autism and thus be better able to portray that reality. And this is where I, an autistic myself, need to pump the brakes. You see, I'm something of an autism anti-hero. I totally and completely reject the notion of autism as an identity. This so-called autism community has become deeply entrenched in identity politics, casting a horrible mental condition as an identity. And while it may in fact be the autism that is confusing me here, I will readily say that I don't understand people who say they're proud of being autistic.
Dr. Bernard Hasselhoff says my brain is defective, but one day there will be a cure for my disability. I do not like it when he says this. I do not feel disabled, defective, or a need to be cured. I like being an Aspie.
Autism isn't something to be proud of, it isn't something to be celebrated, and it isn't a personality-defining character trait. But that's what the autism community insists on pushing. For example, there's a movement in autism advocacy to condemn so-called person-first identity expression, meaning that we should say Joe is an autistic person, not Joe is a person with autism. The basis for this is that you would say, for example, a Jewish person, not a person with Jewishness. The problem with contextualizing autism this way is that it presupposes that autism is a predominant defining character trait that ought to be understood as a demographic perspective rather than a mental health condition. For example, you would say a person with cancer, not a cancerous person. So why wouldn't I be proud of being autistic? Why wouldn't I want to be identified first and foremost as being autistic? Tell you what, here's what it's like, at least for me, when I go on a date as an autistic person. You enter the coffee shop. The location was her idea, and you didn't think to come to scout it out beforehand, so you're taking in all the sensory information for the first time. The ambient noise of the coffee shop is like a wind tunnel, the sound of the barista's voice piercing the auditory blizzard like a rabid harpy. You're already dizzy as you approach the counter and order the first thing you can think of before bolting to a corner booth so that you only have to have visual input coming at you from one direction. Then your date arrives. Lo and behold, she's not a swamp walrus, quite the opposite. She's even more stunning than her pictures. You stand up to greet her, extending your hand to shake, but she wants a hug. Oh, okay. Remember to only put one arm around her and don't let your waist touch hers. It's that weird neurotypical thing where she wants to have physical contact, but not have any indication that you're enjoying said physical contact. But when you put that hand on her back, remember not to pat her back, because for some reason, patting someone on the back is a subconscious signal that you see them only as a friend. You've made it through the opening ceremony, time for the main event. You start talking, regaling her with some anecdote derived from your previous texting conversation. It's going well. She's laughing at the funny parts and maintaining eye contact. She doesn't even realize that you aren't actually looking her in the eyes. You're looking at the brim of her nose because actual eye contact feels like a drill going through your forehead. But you're smiling and you're chatting and your physicality is perfect. She thinks she's talking to a real live boy, not a well-oiled automaton going through the motions of a human being. And despite the wild chaos of the coffee shop that pounds on your senses like a drum, you're almost starting to enjoy yourself too. But there's that nagging telltale heart voice in your head reminding you that this can't go on forever. Sure, you might have convinced her that you're normal for the last 40 minutes, but you know that it's only a script, and if she sees the real you, the monotone voice, the resting murder face, the Rainbow Dash figurines, she's going to realize that she's been on a date with one of those things from the internet. They're like human beings, except they talk too loud and can't play sports. Now the conversation is approaching the 1 hour mark, and the voice in your head is getting impatient. It's screaming at you, and you just won't listen, so it's going to call in the cavalry. A twisting feeling begins to tighten just underneath your heart. You ignore it. You've had that one before. Come on, body. That's rookie level. Is that all you've got? No, of course not. Another pain joins the twisting, this time the clawed fingers of a demon hand gripping at your heart. You're still holding it together, but any minute now, the knotting feeling and the demon hand are going to join forces and make you think, oh, there it is. You're having a heart attack. No, you're not. You've been through this before, but now you're sweating. You saw that documentary on Mike Ditka where he said the first sign of a heart attack was that he couldn't stop sweating. No, you're not having a heart attack. You know that, but now your date can see that you're covered in flop sweat. This isn't good, Jordan. You're probably losing her. But isn't that what we want? For this cursed woman to be on her way so that we can go home and sit in the dark surrounded by nothing but the blessed relief of silence? The faux heart attack continues, but it's joined by the boiling tendrils of acid reflux and the feeling of a single, long, bony finger stroking gently at your gag reflex. You start imagining what this gorgeous creature is going to look like covered in vomit. Come on, Jordan, you haven't thrown up in years, but nevertheless you feel as though every meal you've ever eaten is being loaded into a giant social embarrassment cannon at the base of your esophagus. Why won't this infernal encounter come to an end? Why do you keep spouting one amusing quip or interesting anecdote after another? What the hell are you doing here? Best case scenario, you'll end up living with this woman. Remember what that was like the last time we tried it? Oh God, if that's the only thing that can come of this, then why are you doing it in the first place? What does this woman want? Why is she making you sit here under these garish lights, listening to the shrill, whining, crowing of that barista in this room where the sound of 50 voices chattering at once is chewing up your brain and ripping your eyes out through their sockets? What the hell are we doing here? There's no earthly way of knowing which direction we are going. There's no knowing where we're going. Or which way the river's flowing? Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane blowing? Not a speck of light is showing. So the danger must be growing. Are the fires of hell a-glowing? Is the grisly reaper bowing? Yes! The danger must be growing! For the rowers keep on rowing, and they're certainly not showing any sign that they are slowing! Hey, it's Jordan. Leave a message.
Hey, so listen, I had a really good time meeting you the other day, but I just don't think I want to get together again. I don't know. Something just seemed a little weird. It's probably me. Anyways, thank you for a great time, and I wish you all the best. Bye.
But that's the kind of sensory overload that autistics deal with every day. Sure, there are benefits too, like my single-minded focus on my interest has helped me put in the time necessary to do this. But I would happily give up my guitar-playing ability if I could live a normal life without this wretched, deranged brain that fights me through every step of every day. If I could have a face that instills confidence instead of making people worried about my ulterior motives. If I could judge spatial relationships so that I'm not bumping into people. If I could carry on a conversation without having to constantly bring down the volume of my voice. If I could tell when people are about to cry so that I don't keep carrying on like some disinterested cretin that doesn't care that they're in emotional pain. If I could tell which people are okay and which ones are sociopathic narcissists so that I don't keep bringing toxic manipulators into my life. If I could have normal interests like football and deer hunting instead of science fiction novels and musical theater. Autistics deserve support. They deserve help. They deserve patience. But more than that, they deserve to come into their own as unique individuals whose life and happiness is not encumbered by their condition. And this is what Sia's movie and autism advocacy groups both get wrong. They're trying to push autism as the totality of a person's existence. Ultimately, autism is not the point of music's character within the story. Autism is simply a vehicle by which music serves her relevant purpose in the life of her half-sister Kazu, who is the film's actual main character. So what is music really? She's a demented version of the internet's favorite trope, the Manic Pixie Dream Girl. By now, the term Manic Pixie Dream Girl is so widely known that reiterating the definition is probably unnecessary, but for the few somehow uninformed, a Manic Pixie Dream Girl is a cute, young, quirky, and perpetually cheerful one-dimensional female character intended to convince a sensitive, brooding male protagonist to embrace life in all its infinite joys and complexities. Kazu is, of course, female, but other than that, the definition fits perfectly. You can be the world's most incompetent drug dealer with the weight of the world bearing down on you, but somehow realizing that it's Sesame Street 24/7 in your autistic sister's head makes life seem worthwhile. Adding to the unrealism surrounding music's character is the manner in which everyone in her local community seems willing to bend over backwards to help her and treats her like this bright little burst of sunlight that they can't wait to see every day.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
I will say right now that this is so unbelievably removed from my experience as an autistic and the experience of so many like me that it is almost the stuff of delusion. More often in reality, the behavior exhibited by most autistics is interpreted as rudeness or condescension by neurotypicals. In my experience, most people who are upset by an autistic's behavior will not be quick to forgive or understand. Usually, they interpret the behavior as having sinister undertones indicative of someone who is smug, stuck up, or a bully. I can't tell you how many times I've had to explain that I didn't mean to hurt someone's feelings and that it's the result of a condition, only to have them say, no, you just don't want to take responsibility for your actions. So what's a better representation of the autistic experience? Well, I would have to point to Alan Partridge, the fictional BBC radio and television personality created by British comedian Steve Coogan. Throughout his numerous BBC series, including Knowing Me, Knowing You with Alan Partridge, I'm Alan Partridge, and Mid-Morning Matters, Alan Partridge is presented as a socially inept, loathsome snob and an all-around incompetent media personality whose grating, oblivious nature is a constant source of hilarity.
Thank you for coming. can I offer you my deep, deep despair on this very bad day?
Thank you.
I mean, how are you coping?
Oh, well, terrible, really. We booked to go on holiday next week.
Bugger!
You'd have been 41 next month.
All those people who go around saying life begins at 40. They're notable by their absence. The nerve. Are you close?
He was my husband.
Yes, of course.
While never identified as being on the spectrum, the character consistently demonstrates numerous traits associated with the condition. Consider, for example, this situation. Alan is staying at a hotel when his car is covered in graffiti. Listen to how he explains the situation to hotel staff.
Is everything all right?
Mr. Partridge has got some rude graffiti.
Graffiti? What, in the hotel?
No, God, there's never any graffiti in the hotel. Although, in the Gents a couple of weeks ago, I did see someone had drawn a lady's part. It's quite detailed. Well, the guy obviously had talent. That's the trouble. But no, it's not the... No, it's on the side of my car. It says cock, piss, partridge. Which is illegal. Is she new?
Yes, she is.
I mean, I'm basically driving around in an obscene publication. I'd love to get my hands on the bastard. Or bitch, might be a lady.
Now think about how Alan got hung up on describing that restroom graffiti. Autistics think in units of detail. His mind would need to piece through each detail of that concept before he could move on. Also, notice his clarification of the possibility that the graffiti artist in question might be female. His clarification of bitch as a possible alternative to bastard seems to genuinely carry a tone of consideration for gender equality. He simply doesn't understand that being included in his diatribe is not where the women he's speaking to would want to have their gender recognized. Now, you might be wanting to say, but Alan Partridge isn't autistic. He's a boorish, contemptible jerk whose bloated ego and delusional levels of self-aggrandizement make him a walking study in the Dunning-Kruger effect. And I would say, yes, he is all of that. But that's the point. Autism informs and affects who the person is, but it's not their actual identity. In closing, let's consider that there was no identity controversy when the neurotypical Claire Danes portrayed noted autistic and autism advocate Dr. Temple Grandin in the 2010 HBO docudrama of the same name. Above and beyond being a world-renowned autism educator, Temple Grandin also made a name for herself by designing innovative cattle chutes that are structured to guide cattle to the slaughterhouse in a manner that is calming and structured around their unique thought patterns, allowing them to die with dignity and vastly improving the efficiency of farms and slaughterhouses in the process. So why is there no controversy when she was played by Claire Danes? Because Dr. Grandin is an individual, not a symbol. To portray her is to portray a unique individual who happens to be autistic, not an amalgamation of goofy stereotypes. A person with autism, not an autistic person. And that's where Sia and the autism advocates demanding an autistic actor play music are exactly the same. They want people to portray categories, not real dynamic individuals. We who are autistic are not silly little spazoids who exist to embarrass themselves so that neurotypicals can learn some special lesson about life by attending to the needs of their pet moron. We are real, unique, and dynamic individuals. We are not the Borg. Although it is apparently impossible to talk about us without eventually mentioning Star Trek. Hey everybody, thank you for watching that video, and as always, please like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and if you're so inclined, please consider becoming a donor to the Patreon. All of that information is linked below. I also wanted to thank my friend Lauren for doing the answering machine message segment of this video. Her band Burn Babes has a new single coming out May 15th on all the streaming platforms. It's going to be really good, so please be sure to check that out. This topic was of special interest to both of us because she has an autistic son who I have to say is a really great kid. One last thing before I go, I included a link to Dr. Grandin's TED Talk below. I highly recommend everybody watch that. She understands the full body of scientific knowledge on autism. She knows how to elucidate it well, how to educate on it. She is someone you need to be listening to. Tony Atwood is another one. But Temple Grandin, absolutely listen to her. She can really set you straight about what's actually going on here. Do not take any actual advice about, don't try to formulate any understanding about what autism actually is from this god-awful Sia movie. If you have not seen Temple Grandin, the movie, I highly recommend it. I saw it when it came out. It was phenomenal. I rewatched clips from it when I was making this video, and there are some amazing tearjerker moments in that. But I highly, highly, highly recommend that as well. So I put the trailer for that below as well. Anyway, thank you. Be well.